Hello, this video has my day 5 drawing for Inktober. My main goal for this was that I wanted to draw a man. I usually draw women just because I like their bodies, I like their poses. And it also probably has to do with the fact that as a kid, when I started drawing, it was drawing Sailor Moon, which had a mostly all-female cast. I also wanted to try and do like a full drawing with a full composition, and ended up deciding on drawing a man with long flowy hair that would have silhouettes of birds that would almost blend with the hair. You know, not quite like drawings where characters' hair turns into birds. I just wanted bird silhouettes around his hair. I had a lot of trouble with his arm in the sketch at first. I didn't like how it looked, but just decided to move on and finish the rest of the sketch, and then I could go from there. I find if I get too caught up on how I don't like something, I'll erase it to the point that I'll ruin the paper. And sometimes find if I just concentrate on other things in the drawing and refine those, that making the fix later will be a lot easier. I do not know why I added those lips in the first place. They look so weird to me now at this point. And here we go, third time's the charm. You also see I switched to a different color of Erasable Crayola. I think it's because by using a new color, it unconsciously puts me in a different headspace. Looks a lot better to me. And I think it's because I have the rest of his body to compare it to. Because there were going to be bird silhouettes around him, I decided to give his clothes a bunch of feathers on them. I wasn't sure how crazy I wanted to go, but then settled on a kind of feather smock thing. I drew in his stomach muscles, initially thinking he would just be shirtless and then have pants, but later on I'll end up deciding it looks stupid and give him a shirt. But I still recommend drawing in belly buttons and muscle lines because it can help you make sure that, proportions are correct. Adding in his belly button and the V's there on his stomach really helped me figure out how long his torso should be. I love drawing hair, especially flowy hair. It's so fun. Once the hair was in place, I started to draw the bird silhouettes. I was going for ravens, but there are some spots where it looks a little odd to me. I also ended up moving the raven that was overlapping with the hair because I'm going to color the hair completely black and that raven would not be visible. The birds didn't seem to be enough though, so I also added some floaty feathers as well. I was thinking I could leave them white and create a nice contrast between the black silhouette of the birds and his black hair. Yes, I'm definitely not scared to use my eraser. This is the sketch phase. So, you should feel free to sketch and erase and try new things. No one's gonna get mad if, your lines aren't locked in at this stage. Looking at the sketch, though, I have to say I do find his feather smock pretty fabulous. I started inking his face because I was going by the logic of if I wrecked his face, I probably wouldn't be happy with the rest of the drawing, so I'd better do this first. I tried to use different line widths on his nose and his mouth. I feel like it makes the drawing look more interesting and illustrate where more shadow is. I'm also happy with how I inked his lips, whereas the full lips before kind of made him look like he was wearing lipstick. These look more natural. Inking these feathers was really time consuming. And as you can see, I didn't draw them completely in doing the sketch. I just drawn the initial shapes and then drew the actual feathers in shape while inking. It was time consuming, but worth the result. And while inking and creating the feathers, I made sure to not make them look too similar and too perfect. They're on an outfit, so I'm sure they would have some wear and tear. I gave the feathers on the right side some time to dry before I created the feathers on the left side. I'd put so much work into this drawing at this point, I really wanted to avoid smearing any ink. I know I can always fix it in Photoshop, but it's always so satisfying when you have a traditional piece of artwork that's original and you don't have to make that many changes to it. I don't know why I spent so much time adding lines to his hair when I was going to fill it in black. I think maybe I'd forgotten I was going to do that. I was too paranoid to smear those feathers, by the way, so I did end up just busting out a piece of paper. As I added the left side, I also started varying the thickness of the outlines of the feathers to try and, portray shadow and separate them out so they just didn't look like a big pile of lines and mush. I find when you have a bunch of things, drawn together, whether it be, like a pile of tennis balls or a bunch of hair and fur, or in this case, feathers, trying to use different line weights really helps you separate them out. I wish I'd put a little bit more attention in how the tail feathers here were shaped. One of the challenges of Inktober is that I don't have the luxury I usually do of being able to just leave a sketch for a week and then go back to it. That's fulfilling Inktober's objective of building good habits. Paying attention to things as you draw them and not just completely leaning on being able to go back and fix it later. Around this point in the drawing, I started to realize that his gender was getting rather ambiguous. The long, flowy hair is generally considered feminine, and I guess his hips are a bit curvy, so he did end up much more androgynous than I had intended. I think I'm gonna make it a priority that at some point before the end of Inktober, I'm going to draw a super manly man, just so that I can prove I can. I waited for the ink to dry and erased the Crayola lines before I did the rest of the inking. Erasing all the Crayola lines seems to throw me into a completely different headspace. It allows me to look at the drawing with new eyes while I decide where I want to add shading and what areas I want to be solid black. I started off with filling in the silhouettes black with my Pilot Pocket brush pen. I find it's great for filling in large areas. I thought filling in the silhouettes first too would also give me an idea of how I wanted to approach the rest of the drawing. That's also why I did his hair second as well, because that's the biggest chunk of black in this drawing. Once I saw how the hair looked all black next to the black silhouettes, it would give me an idea of how much black to use in his clothing. I didn't want to overkill it. I was really careful not to color over my feather. I love the thin tips of the Pocket Pilot brush pen because it does make it a little easier when you're filling in ink around small spaces. Unfortunately, my camera cut off and I didn't notice. I brought out my Sakura jelly pen to add a few more details, like more lines in the hair where I'd colored over, and a bit of texture on the t-shirt. And here's the final. I was super happy with it. If you like this video, please give it a like and subscribe. I have more Inktober videos on my channel if you liked this one.